Okay, well, welcome everyone to another episode of Being Present with Leonard. I hope you're enjoying this series and I hope you're finding it helpful. So, in today's episode, I'm going to speak very briefly about fear and anxiety and how to overcome fear and anxiety. And then I will be answering some questions that have been submitted during the past week. Now, if you would like me to answer a question for you, then you can submit your question in one of two ways. You can simply post the question in the replay of this video. Or you can go to the website leonardjacobson.com and post your question there. All right, so let's talk a little bit about fear and anxiety. So I'm just looking at the image on my screen. Okay, so let's talk about fear and anxiety. Many people feel fear, obviously, and many people are anxious at various times in their lives. So what does one do? How does one overcome the feeling of anxiety? We'll start with anxiety. The most important thing, if you're feeling anxious, is to identify what you're anxious about. Most people just feel anxiety, but they're not sure what they're anxious about. The moment you identify what you're anxious about very precisely, then you can take steps to free yourself from that anxiety. Most of the anxiety will drop away just at the moment that you identify what you're anxious about. But perhaps you're still in a situation that's creating anxiety. So when you know what the anxiety is about, and there's some remaining anxiety after you identify it, then you can take steps to bring into your life whatever you need to lessen that situation that's creating anxiety. It's really that simple. You can take steps to bring into your life what is needed at that time, what is necessary to relieve you of the anxiety. So that's pretty simple. Now, fear is very similar to anxiety, of course. And again, if you're feeling any fear about anything, it's really, really essential that you know what you're afraid of. It doesn't make sense to be fearful or afraid when you don't know what you're afraid of. So find what the fear is about. Where does it come from? It's most likely not coming from the present moment. If you pay attention to this moment, you'll realize in this moment and only in this moment, just this moment, there's nothing to be anxious about and there's nothing to be afraid of. Look around. What is there to be afraid of in this moment? So if you are feeling any fear or anxiety, first thing to do is check, is there anything in this moment to be afraid of? The answer is most likely going to be no. So then you ask yourself, okay, where is this coming from? Where does this originate from? What happened in my past that created anxiety or fear that is still within me? So we really have to master that particular step. But there's a very interesting thing about fear that I've become aware of, or I've been aware of for quite some time. We have to go back to prehistoric times and the time of the days of the cavemen, when you and I were cavemen or cavewomen. And fear was a very, very natural and authentic response that was connected to our survival. In other words, if there was some clear threat to your survival, fear immediately would kick in. And then you have the opportunity when fear kicks in, when you see the saber-toothed tiger coming towards you, you have an opportunity to run, get the heck out of there, because the fear response will lead to you can run. Now, if you can't run, let's say your exit is blocked, then then you can't run. So what do? You fight. You'll have to fight the saber-toothed tiger. You'll probably lose, but what choice do you have? In other words, survival was very connected to the fear and flight response. It was all about survival, and in those days, it made perfect sense. We needed that emotional feeling response to support our survival. Otherwise, we would have been eaten by a saber-toothed tiger or whatever else was around at the time. Now, a very interesting thing has happened to humanity. Somewhere along the way, somewhere from those very early prehistoric days, that we have to move time forward, we keep going forward, somewhere along the journey, we got very, very confused. We started to experience or perceive things like rejection, judgment, criticism, things of that nature. We started to perceive that as a threat to survival, to our survival. And we got very, very confused. And so what happened is that original fear, fight or flight response as a response to fear is still with us. But now we're quite willing to fight. Or we run, we withdraw, or we fight, we become aggressive. When we perceive these things as a threat to our survival, which they simply are not. If somebody rejects you, if somebody is not open and loving towards you, so what? Your survival is simply not threatened by that. If somebody is coming at you with a baseball bat, well, then of course that's not the same thing. It's not rejection or feeling neglected or whatever it is. There's a real and present danger, and then the same response applies: fight or flight. But it will always begin with fear. Fear will generate a fight or flight response. It's that simple. Now, we humans have gotten so mixed up by confusing things that are not a threat to our survival as a threat to our survival. If somebody doesn't love you the way you want them, if somebody doesn't listen to you the way you need them to or you want them to, if someone doesn't appreciate you or tell you how good you are, if you don't feel loved, if you don't feel good enough, none of those things are a threat to your survival. There is no need for a flight or fight response. There is no need even for a fear-based response. There's no threat to your survival. So find different ways of dealing with those human emotional feelings in a different way that don't involve you either withdrawing, that's flight, or becoming aggressive, that's fight, or arguing, or proving your point, or being right. That's all fight. And then withdraw, hide, that's all flight. So let's get beyond that. And now I'm going to answer some questions. I'm going to take a moment to become present, because sometimes when I'm setting up this camera and I can see the image, I look rather pink. Nothing I can do about it now. I forgot to make adjustments. But these technical things can throw me back into my mind. So I take a moment. I pause. I connect with my breath. I'm present in the movement of my body. Good, now I'm feeling more here. I have no right to speak to you in this way unless I'm present. And I'm speaking from presence. And the best thing that can happen for you is that you hear me in presence. Then we will discover that the speaker and the one hearing, the speaker of truth, the one hearing truth, are absolutely equal in the expression of truth. There can't be expression without hearing. We come together in that. It doesn't really matter who is speaking the truth and who is hearing the truth. And let me tell you one more thing about truth. The truth exists fully, wholly within you. The only way you can know if I'm ever speaking words of truth is because it resonates with the truth that exists within you. It doesn't exist within your mind. It exists at a much, much deeper level. And it's only available to you as you become more and more present. Okay, now let's go to the first question. This is from Forrest from New Orleans. Dear Leonard, I had some deep spiritual experiences in the past year. Now I seem to have lost access to this. And then my ego tries to get it back so much that it seems it's getting harder and harder each time. Your guidance, please. Thank you. Okay, Forrest, let me tell you that's a very common experience. And the solution to your situation is very, very simple. It's wonderful that you had these spiritual experiences, this spiritual awakening. That is wonderful. And whatever you experienced during those awakenings, during those spiritual experiences, whatever you experienced, if you were present, whatever you experienced will never go away. It cannot be lost. You don't have to hold on to it. You don't have to look for it again, because if you try to hold on to it, by its very nature, that engages you in the past. It involves you in the past because what you experienced was in the past. So hold on to it. You take yourself out of presence. Now you're in the past. And yet the experiences you had, the spiritual experiences you had, probably occurred, or most likely, if they're awakening experiences, they occurred because you spontaneously became present. So don't hold on to past enlightenment or spiritual experiences. Don't hold on. Let them go. This too shall pass. All experiences pass, including enlightenment experiences, spiritual experiences. Everything passes except for one thing. The I am that is experiencing each of these experiences as they arise and appear in my existence, my life, my consciousness. So all experiences pass, but the one experiencing remains unchanging, constant, eternal. So, Forrest, by trying to hold on to that experience, you took yourself into the past. By trying to get it back, you just took yourself into the future. It's a great trick of the ego. The ego doesn't want you to be present. It doesn't want you to go back to that awakened state of consciousness. And it knows that if it encourages you to try to get it back, it knows you won't. So don't fall for that. How do you deal with it then? If you had these beautiful experiences, what do? You know what you do? You just say, thank you, God. Even if you never have another spiritual awakening during this lifetime, it doesn't matter. Just say, thank you, God. Be grateful. Don't be greedy. Don't hold on. Don't be attached. This too shall pass. Everything is surrendered. Everything is let go of, including peak experiences, enlightenment experiences. Now, your role is to let them go. If they stay, good, enjoy. If they don't go, good, enjoy. For as long as they remain with you, these peak experiences, enlightenment experiences. But when they go, they go. Just say thank you. Don't look for it again. Instead, focus on being present. That's the key. But not only present, but present, loving, grateful, and generous. You see, there's no generosity, there's no gratitude in saying, give me more, let me hold on to that, I want that back. That's not gratitude or generosity. So just let go of these past experiences, become present, and bring your love, gratitude, and generosity to whatever you encounter in the present moment. If you see a tree, say, thank you. I know who you are. I know that you are the body of God. I am here now. Thank you for being here with me. That's how a mystic would express. A mystic loves to dwell within the mystery and allow the mystery to unfold. You don't need to hold on to things. So I think that answers your question, Forrest, but I'm very happy for you that you had these experiences. Now surrender them. In fact, what I like to say is God gave you those experiences. Now give those experiences back to God. Okay, God, these things don't belong to me, they belong to you. Thank you for allowing me to experience it. Who is experiencing it? I am. That's the awakened you, the I am that you are. Okay, the next question is from Otis from San Diego in California. I wonder, Leonard, if a person is experiencing a particularly difficult life situation, for example, poverty, unemployment, ill health, physical pain, does this make the awakening process, for want of a better description, more or less difficult than someone who is relatively okay in their situation? Also, does awakening and arising in mastery alter apparently difficult circumstances on a practical level through time when there is complete acceptance in the present moment? With much love, Otis. Okay, all right. So, Otis, your question reminds me a little bit of something I read many, many years ago, probably 50 years ago, which was Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And he spoke of you have to fulfill one level of need, then the next level of need, then another level, so that you're moving beyond your basic fundamental needs, and then you begin the process of self-actualization, which, you know, in this language here, in the language of consciousness, it would be awakening. So I think there's some truth to that. It's very hard to be present and make a shift from that dream that we've all been caught in if you're dealing with very difficult life circumstances. On the other hand, there's no reason why it should prevent you. I'll give you an example. Supposing you're in Ukraine right now, and obviously it's a very stressful, tense, frightening time, a frightening experience. So I don't think that's the time when you start focusing on being present. Oh, let me be present with the tree. You're going to feel all your feelings. You're going to respond, hopefully, as effectively as possible. And you're going to do whatever you can to either keep safe or respond any way you choose to. But, you know, if you're dealing with extreme poverty or even some level of poverty, you just don't have enough money. Of course, that's going to create anxiety. But the truth is, we really have to come back to the words of Jesus. He gave us a great clue when he said in the Lord's Prayer, "Give us this day our daily bread." So a good way to avoid or to get past that anxiety is just to focus on, if not the moment, focus on today. For example, if you're in Ukraine, you're living in Ukraine, and you get through a 24-hour day, just say thank you and then face the next day. Don't take on too much, otherwise it will overwhelm you. Don't look at, like for example, the Ukrainians, don't look at the whole situation, just look at today. What do I need to do today? How do I need to respond? Do I need to hide and keep myself safe? Am I involved in fighting in this war? That's just an example, but we're all dealing with very ordinary, simple situations in our day-to-day life. So it can be more challenging when your life situation is difficult, complicated, complex. On the other hand, it doesn't have to be. So it's really a choice you make. I would recommend following the words of Jesus, "Give us this day our daily bread." And then tomorrow, say it again. God, give us this day our daily bread. And don't forget at the end of the day, because you asked just enough for today, don't forget to thank God for giving you your daily bread, making that supply available to you. Now, I'm not suggesting we'll all exist on bread and bread alone, but it's what he's really sharing with us. He's saying, don't go too far into the future. If you do, you'll get lost there. You'll get lost in fear. You'll get lost in anxiety. You'll get lost in a dream. You'll be governed by your ego. You'll be governed by all your limiting beliefs and repressed feelings and judgments. So don't go too far into the future. Don't go too far into the dream. Deal with the dream the best way you can, day by day, and even better, moment by moment. I can't really give you any advice beyond that. The second part of Otis's question. Also, does awakening and arising in mastery alter apparently difficult circumstances on a practical level through time when there is complete acceptance in the present moment? Well, you don't even really need complete acceptance in the present moment. You just need to be reasonably grounded in presence, in the present moment. You have to be reasonably grounded, because when you're present and you've opened to some degree into presence, so it's now a natural part of who you are, you recognize it, you know it for what it is. This is presence. Oh yes, I'm present in this moment. I can feel it. I'm really here. I feel like I'm really here. I'm not in my mind. My mind is very quiet, even silent. So now you know you're present, right? And slowly, slowly, the presence becomes more and more established within you. Or another way of saying it is the roots of presence go deeper and deeper and deeper, so that it becomes harder and harder to shift you too far out of presence. But here's the point about living in the world of time. When you're present, as you open into presence, truly open into presence, you literally open up into love, acceptance, compassion, true power, and the sense of oneness. All fear dissolves, all judgment dissolves, because it was never there in the first place. So didn't really dissolve, it's just not there. So all these qualities now exist within you. They're actually the qualities of God, because we happen to be created in the image of God. So all of God's qualities exist within us, particularly the love, the acceptance, the compassion. So how do you think your life might change all by itself without you doing one thing to change it, if all these qualities begin to flow through you as you into your day-to-day life, into your relationships? Things will just naturally get easier. And if there are difficult circumstances, then who is dealing with those difficult circumstances? Is it that you, that dimension of you that's been forever lost in the dream with all those limiting beliefs and repressed feelings, anxiety, fear, all of that? Is that the one that's going to respond to the difficult situation developing in your life? Or are you going to respond from a much deeper place within you, grounded in presence, and yet able to navigate the world of time without getting lost in the dream? So presence just plays beautifully into every aspect of our life. And then every now and then, there is no life other than this moment. We come out of the story, out of the timeline. Now we're present. We settle here. I don't care if it's for 3 seconds, 3 minutes, 3 hours, 3 days, 3 weeks, or 3 months. But settle. But in the context I'm describing, then of course, you come out of the story. Maybe you're just present, deeply present for 10 seconds, 20 seconds, a short time. But you're acknowledging and affirming that that's who you are and that's how you're going to respond in your life. Okay, so I think that answers that question. This is the last question, folks. How are we doing on time? Oh, good, this is going to be short. Hannah from Netherlands. Dear Leonard, I feel that I live in the present moment for the most part, and in some ways it is a feeling of coming home. My question is how to interact with others in a way that is authentic and transparent. How do I learn to stay in the present and show myself to others without hiding who I really am in presence? Gratefully, Hannah. Okay, so a couple of comments I'd like to make in relation to your question, Hannah. The first is you say, and in some ways, when you're present, in some ways it is a feeling of coming home. Well, for me, I'd take a step further than that. It is precisely the feeling of coming home. And let me tell you a little secret, that you are a multi-dimensional being, Hannah. And I won't mention all the dimensions of your being, but certainly there's the soul dimension, the spiritual dimension, and the heavenly dimension of who you are. And these are all disembodied states. They're not dependent on you being incarnated into physical form. So your role here in physical form is that of the champion of the soul. You're here to help the soul find its way to its ultimate destination, which is a return home. The only problem is the soul doesn't know where home is, or it's confused about where home is. The soul believes because it emerged from heaven, from that wonderful, wonderful state of oneness with God, from paradise, really, from heaven. And naturally, the soul has a very subtle, very unconscious memory of that. And that's where it thinks it has to return to where it came from. But that's not the true destination. That's not the true homecoming for the soul. The true homecoming from the soul, for the soul, can only be found by you, because you're in physical form and you exist both at the formless level, but you also exist within form. You have a physical body. You exist in the physical realm. Everything here is in physical form. So because it's a coming together of the form and the formless, right? You, in this way, are the only one that can deliver the final message to the soul. Home is here now. It is in the present moment. And when you do come home, you will discover that this is not heaven. This is heaven on earth. And that's the soul's journey, from heaven to heaven on earth. We've never really disconnected from heaven other than within our own minds, within the dream. We've never disconnected. But if you're caught in the dream, if you're living within the dream, and you have been for many, many lifetimes, probably hundreds of lifetimes, then you're going to be very, very lost and not know what it means to come home. So that's the first thing I would say. Being present is very much a homecoming. And at the deeper levels of presence, you'll discover that you actually exist on heaven on earth. Simple as that. Now, how do we interact with others in a way that is authentic and transparent? How do we stay in the present, show yourself to others without hiding who you really are? Well, the first thing I'd say to you, Hannah, and I say this with love, why do you need people to see who you are? That's a trap. The majority of people have no way of seeing who you are. The only way anyone can see your presence is from their own presence. Somebody has to be present, or at least have some connection to presence, to recognize the degree of presence that you are existing at. So in a way, it's a bit of a trap to want other people to recognize you and see that you're very present. On the other hand, there's no reason why you shouldn't be present. Be yourself, enjoy yourself, be present whatever you're doing, and no matter who you're speaking to, be yourself, be present, express yourself authentically in the moment, let it flow. And the thing that will be missing is what other people see, hear, or recognize. You don't care. That's not your business, whether they can see you or relate to you or not. The more lost someone is in the dream, the less they're going to see you. They might even get a little annoyed that you're not playing the game anymore. Because the way it is in our world, in our dream world, is that we play a game. I'm here for you as long as you're here for me. I like you as long as you like me. I love you as long as you love me. It's a game we're playing. And we get caught and lost in each other because of this game. So let's come out of that game and just, Hannah, just be yourself. Be grateful. And if you want anyone to see you and to know how present you are, go and sit with a tree. Stand in front of a tree and ask the tree, do you know who I am? Can you see that I'm present? Now, the tree might not have eyes, but it's got many, many leaves, and every leaf has eyes, so don't worry about it. The tree is nothing other than God in the form of a tree. You know, in the fully awakened dimension, transcendent of physical form, in other words, if we were to leave the body and go straight back to the heavenly realm, which most of us will not be, but if that happened, people don't talk to each other there. They're not even people. The energies there, the beings in this ascended state, they don't use words. They communicate without words. So you don't need words. Just be present and don't worry about what other people think of you. I remember in the very, very early days of my own journey, I'd had my first awakening. And shortly after my first awakening, it was so over the top, so wonderful, so magical. Of course, I wanted to share it with others. I wanted others to know what I'd experienced, and I wanted to share it with them so they could experience something like it. Well, I learned very quickly not to do that, because when you try and explain what you've been through with one of these openings, or what it's like to be present, or whatever, you're just going to be met with their doubt. And that will actually affect you if you're not careful. So don't worry about people recognizing you or seeing you. That's just another way we lose ourselves in others. I need you to see that I'm awake. Why? Just another way to lose yourself. Just be awake for your sake and for God's sake. And finally, I'll say this though. If you follow what I'm saying and you really are able to just be present and not be concerned whether people know you're awake or present or not, slowly, people will start to respond. They might even ask you, hey, you seem different. What happened to you? And then you share with them about presence when they're interested. Okay, I think that answers your question, Hannah. So let's take a moment just to relax. The only thing we need to know in this moment is that the body is breathing. And who is aware of the body breathing in this moment? I am. That's the awakened you. The I am that you are. And it's already here fully. You are already a fully awakened being. You just have to relax into it. Don't seek it. Don't try and find it because it's already here. Just relax into it. Be present with your body breathing. If you notice I'm very present in the movement of my body, it starts to feel like I'm doing Tai Chi, even though I'm not. You know, it's so beautiful to feel that level of presence in your movement. I can feel my feet touching the floor. Right now, I'm not feeling my breath because I'd have to tune into that. But you can tune into whatever you like. You can be present with anything you see right now. Here's a Kleenex box for you to be present with. Now, let me tell you a secret. This Kleenex box has more power to awaken you than Buddha and Jesus combined. Now, why would I say that? Because you can be present with it. It's here in the moment with you. Where is Jesus and Buddha? They're in the mind somewhere. Particularly if you're believing in them or following some path laid out that hopefully eventually you'll find your way to the end of. That's all past or future stuff. But the box is here. Just be present with it. Don't judge it. Don't assess it. It doesn't matter if it's beautiful or not. You're just present with what's here. You can be present with what you hear in this moment. Pay attention. If I'm speaking, it could be the sound of my voice. If I'm not speaking, it could be any other sound you hear, moment to moment. But know this, every moment the sound is brand new. Don't dismiss it as if you know it. If you look at a tree, don't dismiss it as if you know it already. Sure, you've seen many trees during your life, but have you really been present with this particular tree you're in front of? Let it be a brand new experience, a wholesome experience where you become present with the tree is present with you. And in a way, you're sharing this moment of now with the tree. You can be present as you eat an apple and be present with the taste, or you can be present with the fragrance of a flower. You're just present through your senses. If we could just remain with our senses, at least for a while, then we'd start to open up to what's really here, instead of experiencing what we think is here based on all our projections from the past, our preconceptions, our ideas, concepts, our beliefs. It all colors our experience in the present moment so that we don't actually get to experience what's really here. And let me tell you, in one word, what's really here. One word with 3 letters, beginning with G. Last letter, D. I'm not going to say any more. Work it out for yourself. The present moment is God revealed in this moment. Everything in the present moment in physical form is the body of God. If you want to know God as creator, then find God first as creation. In other words, everything that is here in the present moment is the creation of God. And as you become present with God's creation, then you'll start to sense the presence of God as creator in everything. Now, when I speak like this, I'm not speaking as a religious person or a believer in God. And what I say about God creating, that's too big of a mystery for any of us to comprehend or even try to comprehend. But it certainly accommodates evolution within that whole notion. There are so many realms and dimensions at play at the same time. Even now, everything is simultaneously happening and evolving at the same time. You're already a fully awakened being, and you're on a journey of becoming a fully awakened being. How do you reconcile those two things? Because both are true. You know, you're on a journey of becoming that which you already are. That's the impossible paradox of our lives. Okay, folks. If you've enjoyed this episode, and you have a natural feeling within you that you'd like more and more people to become aware of this teaching, then please comment, hit the like button. What else? I can't remember what else. Okay, so I thank you all for joining this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you found it helpful. So my love and blessings to each and every one of you. And be aware that when you do post a comment, I read it. I enjoy reading your comments. And in a way, it helps me feel connected to you, because when I do live streams like this, I can't see you. One of the days I'm going to set up a Zoom meeting so I can see you all. Okay, folks, that's it for now. Thank you so much.